Hi folks, welcome to this episode of Michael's Backyard Marina. Today I'm going to actually make a permanent install of my kicker motor mount. If you watched my previous video, a couple videos ago, I installed this mount. I used some bolts that I had on hand versus what I'd like to have used, but I used it, ran this motor for over 5 hours on the water, love what it does for me on trolling, so I'm going to make it a permanent attachment to my boat via the mounting plate that I have here. So what I'm going to do is walk you through what I'm going to do to make it more permanent and make it a better structure on the inside of my transom. I'm going to take a piece of starboard that I've cut and I'm going to put holes in it to put that on the inside to put the stress of the motor hanging back there and the bolt holes that are in there with washers and distribute that stress further out throughout the transom. So this thing here hanging off the back doesn't sit there and slowly work those bolts into my plywood or the transom board that's inside there, because the wood inside there is really good. I want to keep it that way. So this is what I'm going to do to get it done. So let's get after it. I'll show you some of the process of what I'm doing. Okay, here folks, here's my piece of starboard. As you can see, I've got it laid out here with some punch marks where I've got my current bolt holes. I laid out all the holes that are actually on the transom bracket that holds the motor mount on, the kicker motor. So I'm going to go ahead and drill the 6 holes that I know are there. And I'm actually going to take this whole motor off. It's not that much of a problem to take it off and put it back on so I can do it right. Because I thought about actually cutting this half in two. And I could take these 4 bolts out, put this piece on, and then take these 2 bolts out and put this piece on so I wouldn't have to undo the whole motor. But I want to leave it as one piece. It's going to have more distribution of stress if I leave it as one piece, in my opinion. So that's what I'm going to do. So let's get after getting this motor off here. It shouldn't take me more than a couple minutes to do it. Okay folks, I got new bolts in there. I'll show you an example of what I put in there. Since this mount here had square holes in it, so it's able to use 5/16 carriage bolts. So I put the carriage bolts in there. Now I got a nice round head bolt in here. The other thing I did is use some Red Devil Pro 100% silicone sealant, heat resistant RTV. It says 50 years on it. I put that in all the threads, in all the holes, so now it's squeezed out around everything. So that'll seal water from getting into the boat from this side. I'll show you a picture of the inside in just a minute. I'll go ahead and hang the motor back on. So that took about 30 minutes, like I said, to get that back in place, but now I know it's bright. It was right before, but it's better now. Just by the way I've got that plate inside, it's going to make it much stronger. That's the worst part of the whole job, is hoisting this thing up. Once it's there though. And I'll tighten that back down. Before I do that, I'll show you the stuff on the inside, how it looks on the inside now. Okay, it's gonna be kind of hard to see back in here in limited light, so I'm using my flashlight, but you can see that piece of starboard I have there, and all 6 bolts coming through the transom. So you see those are tightened up nice and tight. It's not sinking into the wood, and it won't sink into the plastic very much at all, but it'll distribute that pressure from the motor hanging back there, the thrust and all that fun stuff, from putting excess wear and tear on my transom. So that's what the inside looks like. The other thing I picked up is I got some nice little grade 5 bolts to put through here versus the ones I had that are, these are long enough to fit through with a washer on both sides. And then I can put a nylock nut on those as well. Now you folks saw me tighten that up and the motor actually jumped ahead a little bit because I don't even have the upper clamps tight. So I'm tightening these things down as it hangs. So I know without a doubt that that motor is going nowhere when those bolts are attached. And then these clamps that are stock on the motor become the extra clamping power. So there you go. I've got it all installed now, back to where I had it when I came home, where it was working fine. We're good to go. Now, like I said before, this thing here, when it's tightened down, these are tight. If you watch me wiggle this motor, when I shake this part of the motor, and knock my drill on the floor. So as you see here, I'm grabbing the motor and I'm wiggling the whole boat. And you don't see any give in any of this. This thing is rock stone solid. So I don't know about other motor mounts, but I would definitely endorse this one, the Garelick, Garelick motor mount. This thing's rated up to like 160 pounds, up to 100 or up to a 20 horse 4-stroke, which has more torque than the 2-stroke can develop at low RPMs. It's just, it is rock solid. So I'm happy with that. Now we're back to where I'm going to leave it there for life. Well, there you have it, folks. All done. Took about 40 minutes to undo and redo everything. You might ask why I didn't do it right the first time. Well, it was late on a Friday night and I was fishing first thing Saturday morning, and I didn't have time to go to the hardware store, nor were any hardware stores open by the time I started this project. So now it's right. I got good old bolts back in here. I got good carriage bolts in here, tightened up against a nice piece of starboard, sandwiched in there. This thing is, quite frankly, I could tow the boat by this thing. It's so sturdy. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope that was helpful for you. That's the absolute right way to do it. I actually have the option, if I want to drill 6 more holes in this mount and put 6 more carriage bolts through it, but I don't think it's necessary. This has got so much, these 6 bolts have so much shear strength built into them as it is. It would be a little overkill and it'd be putting more holes in my transom than I really need to. So that's why I've decided to stick with the 6. 2 up high, 1 down low. The 2 up high is taking all the weight of this thing torquing down as I'm traveling down the road with it, or putting a load on it when I'm pushing on it. And the thing is, with a long shaft motor, actually has a little more leverage over the mount than a short shaft, just because longer pull handle, more leverage. So that's, and then the 2 at the bottom here are actually just, they actually act more like stability. You know, if I go in reverse, it might help a little bit there, but I'm not going in reverse very much. But that gives us stability so the motor doesn't do this on us, or have the tendency to do that, so it spreads out that load as well. And then, like I said, I highly suggest these other bolts I put up here. You might think you don't need them, or you might think it's like, that's just ridiculous. These clamps are tight enough. They will vibrate. These motors vibrate. They shake. And the last but not least thing, we'll put the safety cable back on. And quite frankly, I don't know how, they don't give you any instructions how they suggest you do it, but I'm just going around this part of the stem here. There's no way that this can escape. And then I'm wrapping around the motor mount and clamping on right there. And that thing can just ride right there. Won't get tangled up in anything. Just rides right there all day long. This way, if everything was to happen to fail for whatever reason, highly doubtful, the motor wouldn't sink to the bottom of the lake. It'll be hanging by this cable, hanging by this mount. Because if this mount breaks loose and goes to the bottom of the lake, I don't care about the motor, because I got a hole this big in my boat, is what that would represent. So I hope you folks liked what you saw here. You got any questions, feel free to send me a message, leave comments. I will be using this thing again this weekend. I'm going to try to do some deep water trolling. I got some rigs I want to go down deeper where all the fish were, but I didn't have any rigs to get down there. I will this weekend, but we'll get down there and we're going to try to catch some fish. I'm going to try to get some videos, better videos of me catching more fish, I'm hoping, and we'll see how that goes. So I'm excited to get this thing back on the water. I did discover this is a 100-to-1 mixture. I've been mixing at 50-to-1. I thought that's what the book said. The book did say that, but that was for the break-in period. I can actually run a 100-to-1 mixture now that this motor's been fully broke in. It's a 1987. The gas tank I bought that came with it said 50-to-1. I'm guessing this thing has run 50-to-1 its entire life. So this thing has not had any kind of unusual wear. It's been running rich mixture, which is fine. But I'm gonna, when I go out this weekend, I'm gonna mix it to 100-to-1. We're gonna run that, see what kind of if it runs a little smoother yet. Definitely will smoke a lot less. And we'll go from there. So thank you, folks. Get out there and do something fun. Enjoy life. And see you on the next project.